Welcome back to my channel, friends. My name is Ten, and in the last video, we inoculated our seed spawn with liquid culture and with spores. Since then, we've been waiting for our jars to fully colonize, and now the jars are getting about 50% colonized, 30 to 50%. So it's time to shake them up and speed up the rest of the colonization process. The mushroom bags, on the other hand, pretty much colonize 100% without me having to even break them up. Now that we've shaken the jars and we put them back into our warm cabinet so they could finish colonizing, it's time to work on the substrate. But now, what kind of substrate do I need? What's best for the kind of mushrooms that I'm trying to grow? Well, let me help you answer that question. Maybe you're interested in growing some wood-loving mushrooms like shiitake or oyster, lion's mane, or even turkey tail. Now, while some of these wood-loving mushrooms will require you to have an actual log of wood, some of the other ones you could get away with using this product called Master's Mix. Master's Mix is a combination of 50% oak sawdust and 50% soy husks. They're combined into this little pellet form. You just need to add water and it puffs up similar to the bricks of cocoa. And it's ready to be thrown into the pressure cooker and used. A popular substrate for growing oyster mushrooms, even though they are wood-loving mushrooms, is straw. You specifically want straw and not hay because hay contains too many competing microorganisms like seeds and other microbes. With this one, you basically soak it inside the hydrated lime, which causes the pH of the straw to shoot up to a crazy number. No other organisms can grow on that except for your humble mushroom. Although this method is simple, it does require a great deal of caution because hydrated lime is incredibly caustic and it will burn your hands if you don't wear thick gloves with it. My favorite all-around recipe is the vermiculite gypsum cocoa mix. This mix will practically allow you to grow just about every single mushroom, including the wood-loving mushrooms, albeit poorly. But if you do add some of that Master's Mix into your cocoa gypsum mix, you're definitely going to have much better results with those wood-loving mushrooms. Now let's get to prepping the cocoa. We start off first by adding about 5 liters of water to the block and let it absorb everything up. Make sure to break up any dry parts. If you need to add a little bit of water, you can. I think I added like an extra half gallon of water, 2 liters, just to get those dry pieces sufficiently wet, but not soaking. For the recipe to turn out correctly, we need to have equal parts cocoa and vermiculite. So I start off by weighing out the cocoa block and we get 755. So we'll just call it 750. Next, we'll weigh out the vermiculite, also 750 grams. And please make sure you have a well-ventilated area when using these products because you want to mix them up when they're dry. This prevents any kind of caking and allows the substrate to be homogeneous. Because the substrate is dry, it's incredibly dusty, so that's why I'm doing this by an open window with a box fan inside of it. Now, normally the recipe is 500 grams cocoa, 500 grams vermiculite, and 100 grams gypsum. Since we had 750 grams of the cocoa and the vermiculite, we need to adjust the gypsum to 150 grams. Sprinkle the gypsum neatly on top and mix everything in really well so that everything is nicely distributed all throughout the substrate. After the substrate is sufficiently mixed, we need to get it to field capacity. Now, field capacity is the amount of water that the substrate could comfortably hold without being oversaturated. And the easiest way to find out if your substrate is at field capacity is if you grab a handful and you give it a firm squeeze. You'll see a few drops of water come out. If you have to white knuckle it, that means your substrate is too dry and you need to add water. If you just gently start squeezing it and water already starts pouring out of it, you have too much water in there and you probably need to add some substrate. After we make sure the substrate is at field capacity, it's time to package it up inside of the mushroom bags. Now, from previous experience, I know that I could fit two 1,300 gram bags into my pressure cooker at one time, so I'm trying to get the bags in that ballpark range of 1,300 grams. This part, some people will argue, and they say that you shouldn't seal it before putting it into the pressure cooker, which makes sense because you can have a blowout either at the top or worse, a blowout at where the filter is. But I've noticed in the past that when I haven't sealed it before putting it into the pressure cooker, I always have a real hard time sealing it afterwards when the bag is wet from top to bottom on the inside and on the outside. Instead of sealing the bags, the sealer will just start sizzling or melting the bags. It just doesn't end up working really well for me. So I've always found that sealing it before putting it into the pressure cooker works best for me. Now, when putting it into the pressure cooker, I have an old t-shirt that I put into the basin and then I just put the bags into the center. This way I don't have any of the plastic touching any of the metal. I know it should be okay. I know it says that they're autoclave safe, but plastic touching metal, especially since the plastic can be cut in half with the food sealer, I'd rather not take any chances. So I always put the t-shirt in there and then just the bags inside, wrap it up like a nice little burrito. As you can see, when it comes out of the pressure cooker, it's practically vacuum sealed, 100% sterilized, and I make a few extra bags when I do this so I could just toss them into the closet and they could sit there for 3 years, 5 years, however long until I need them and they're still ready to go. Now that we finished with our substrate, we just have to wait for our seed spawn jars to look like this, 100% colonized. Depending on the strain, some of them might look a little spotty, some of them might just be completely white. But these mushrooms, well, this mycelium is begging to get out of these jars. And you could see here in the lion's mane jar, it looks like it's already pinning on top. It wants to jump out of that jar. Join me in the next video where I show you how to combine your seed spawn with your substrate in the mushroom bags and get them colonized. I'll also show you a bonus how to do a mono tub. So until next time, friends, happy growing.